Hello my friends. Welcome to the Sunshine Study. It's always a joy to be with you. I'm Dr. Rebecca, the Life Joy Coach and author, and if you're jumping on, please say hello and remind me. I will shout out your business, your charity, your occupation that you need promoting, especially if you're self-employed. I want to help my friends as much as I can. So welcome. As you may know, this is the Sunshine Study. We love sunflowers because they are tall, they are golden, and they seek the light. And when trouble hits and the storms that come, they hold one another together. So, welcome. The main purpose of these Fridays is I hope to leave you feeling quietly more confident, more capable, more joyous, and that there's some tiny element of something we share today that will help you lead a richer life and cope with the one you've got with more joy, more glory, more capability, and ultimately be more you, to shine more brightly in this world. Just do you, you know you best, just be you. So if you're just joining us, please say hello. Sometimes if I don't mention you, it's because I can't see that it's come up, but I can see that Wendy's with us. Welcome, Wendy. It's lovely to have you. I hope life is treating you calmly and kindly. We're going to do a topic today that Kev told me to do. Now, I was going to do something about 10 things about being self-employed that would sort of help you to know. Some of those things are not always positive, but if you know them, sometimes it helps make the shocks of them a bit easier. And then he said to me, don't do that. And he said, do something about 10 ways to be optimistic. And Kevin is the purest soul on the planet. So I thought, right. And he very rarely says anything to me except, go carefully, be gentle, watch your energy, don't get exhausted. So I always listen to him because he's always wise. Dad and Kev are my great blessings in life, and they are profoundly sensible men. So we're not having 10 things that's hard to be self-employed. We're going to have 10 ways to be optimistic, whatever your circumstances. And then I changed it to 10 ways to be hopeful, whatever your circumstances. Because I think hope is a very different thing from optimism. Margaret, my darling, it's so lovely to have you. Welcome. We're going to do 10 ways to be hopeful despite your circumstances today. That's because Kev told me to, and as you know, I'm a very compliant person. Always do as I'm told. I'm always quiet, always submissive. So, but I thought there was something profoundly sensible about that. So I hope this helps. Claire Hunter, welcome. It's lovely to have you. Welcome to the Sunshine Study. We love sunflowers. We love hearts and embroidery and craft and paint and all these beautiful things people sent me or made for me. So they're very close to my heart. The garland, and can you see the post boxes? 3 post boxes. I love them so much, and there are my books. And between you and me, there could be another book coming. Just between us, but don't tell anybody. It's being edited at the moment. So it's wonderful to have you. So I just wanted to say 2 or 3 things first before we get into our top 10 tips for being hopeful. Because that doesn't mean that life is easy or fair, or that grief and illness and distress don't chase us. That's just the realities of life. But the realities also is the counterpoint of the joy, the love and the hope. And that stops us drowning. So we'll come on to that in a moment. First of all, I did want to say thank you to everybody who's replied to the puppies email. Now, if you're not on my email newsletter, I would urge you to join it. It's lovely. I work very hard on it. The content is different from here, so you get another layer of help, I hope. So you just need to go on my website, drrebecca.org.uk, and there's a sign up on everyone. And there's a load of free stuff that you get with it. It requires nothing of you but to receive with good grace, I hope. But I sent an email out on Sunday morning, a couple of weeks ago, from the puppy, just putting her side of the tale, because obviously you've heard all of my stories. There are so many you haven't heard, but I wrote it from Christy's point of view. And she had 10 replies. It was so funny. I often get 5 or 6 replies, often from my loyalist supporters, but she had 10 and they keep coming. So she will be writing another one, and I've decided that she would write one every week to you, I know, because she's not a shy child, but I've decided probably once a month we will have a message from the dog, because she has many sage advice to offer, but she also has some explaining to do, because I've got some things to tell you that she's been up to this week. So I send my emails out on a thing called MailChimp. So that once a month we're going to call it Pup Mail, and Christy Lifejoy Dinsdale will be giving her point of view. So they were such a success, I thought she ought to be allowed to speak more. So that's a little bit about what will come. The other three are often just helpful things that'll help you through your hours and days, I hope. And also to tell you that the puppy has been a bit grumpy this week. She has not been at her best. We've had weeks and weeks of loveliness. We haven't had an accident in the house for months. Dear God, thank God. She loves everybody still. Her enthusiasm for every new person is just utterly delightful. But she's been a bit snarly and a bit grumpy this last couple of days, particularly because she wanted to hang on to her daddy's shorts, which I did not want her to have. Then she put a hole in them and they are beyond recoup. And then she also had one of my hair bubbles, very prized possession hair bubble. So we had a little bit of bad temper about that. So we have now retrieved both. The hair bubble is just in a desperate state. And Christy took it out with her on a walk and she dropped it right where she usually goes to the bathroom. So I cannot explain any further. But I still have hope and she still is full of love and she still is very young and we're still trying really hard. So 10 ways to be hopeful. I hope this helps. If you're just joining us, please say hello. It always helps and we're always glad to have you with us. I love our Fridays together. So let's define hope and optimism. Now, one of my great mentors and gurus, the books that I've loved, are by the former Chief Rabbi, Jonathan Sacks. I would urge you to read anything he's written. I adore his book, The Dignity of Difference. And he was a philosopher as well as a spiritual leader, and he led us all. I think he was just a man of great morals and intellect. And when you put those two things together, you become a powerhouse of goodness. So my books and my authors are, my great friends to my soul. I would also suggest that you read Dr. Ruth Etchells, Just As I Am. I met her and her books are magnificent. So just have a look at those if you can. Now, Jonathan Sacks talks a lot about the difference between hope and optimism. And I would conflate that and say that optimism is a blind belief and that we say, oh, it'll be fine. And, often people are optimistic without the reality of either much experience or they're just being, push it down, don't trouble me with this. It'll be all right, stop fussing, it's fine. And that drives me mad because it's almost as if somebody's correcting you and not allowing you to express your fears, your concerns, your grief, or just the difficulties of everyday life. The ability to listen to people when they are hurt is a superpower. So, blind optimism, I think, takes us nowhere. But hope is the thing that is deep within us. It is that tea light of our souls that keeps going in the gales. And then it becomes a lantern and then it becomes a lighthouse. And we have lighthouse eras in our life. We have lantern eras. And sometimes we withdraw and we recover from great hurt and we just try and keep that tea light going. So that's how I think about it. I would wish to be a hopeful person, a person with a bit of faith and a bit of proactiveness within that. But I often say hopefully or I hope. And I now, somebody said to me, you're Becca Hopefully Williams. You always say hopefully. And I say it because I take nothing for granted. I don't expect to get up tomorrow and be all right. I don't expect things to be all right in a week. I don't expect to be able to do this thing on that date. But I hope that I can. So there's a difference there. And the reason of that is I had so many years of unreliable physical health that I never knew if I was going to be well enough and had to postpone and cancel thousands of things. And that's the worst feeling when you want to be reliable and you want to do as you say, but your body has let you down. And I have a lot of clients now whose often mental well-being lets them down. It's not who they are, it's their circumstances of their chemistry. So remember, it's not you letting people down, it's your circumstances. So I often say, hopefully, God willing. So I caveat lots of things. But I see that as a wise caution, but yet I live in hope. So here's 10 things that I thought about that I hope will help you. And if you can send this video, if you want to share it, I'll put it on the public sharing, is that somebody who might need some hope today. I don't speak as somebody who's Mrs. Mindset, positive thinking all the time. Yeah, you can do anything you want. You can have anything you want. You can be a millionaire. You can climb Everest, all of that. Marvellous for a subset of coaches and speakers. I speak from somebody who has crawled through difficult hours, days and years. So much illness, so much restriction. And then I've taken nearly 1,000 loving funeral services. So I've seen the ends of humanity. I've seen people at their very most broken. And I've seen people fly and soar and do magical things despite what's gone on in their past. So remember 2 or 3 things. Rachie Carter, my darling, it's lovely to have you. Rach, put your business link and shop and everything you've got in this thread. Rach makes the most beautiful things. If you need to buy a present for anybody, Rach is the first person. I have rarely met anybody as brave or talented. So please go and look at Rachel Carter, because the things she makes fill my soul. And you've probably, if I love you, I've probably bought something for you from her. I'm going to keep doing it. Please go and support Rachel. So 10 reasons to be hopeful. You're here. That's the most profound piece of hope. Your goodness, your backbone, your experience, your empathy, your depth of education in life and whatever fields you have is of immense value to everybody around you. And I often say to my bravest clients, everything you touch, you bless. And I can't say that to everybody that I encounter in this world. But when you know that and you're doing your best all the time and you've had a depth of difficulty in life, you understand that your friendship, your words of guidance and wisdom and empathy and care are of immense value. So the first sign of hope in life is that you're here. Therefore, that is the seeds of self-worth. You're here. And that if you weren't, you would be dreadfully missed. If you miss an event and you were going to go and you're not there, people will miss you. That's a great blessing to those people to have you, know you, love you and learn from you. Remember that. Number 1, you're here. Number 2, you've survived all of your worst days so far. And I think I heard that on Instagram somewhere with a nice American with soppy music in the background. But I thought, oh my goodness, yes, 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 yes. You've got this far. And sometimes you've had to crawl through those days, sleep through those days, suffer through those days, but you've got here. And that all difficulty, God willing, could make us stronger from it. It could make us wiser, firmer, deeper, and richer in soul and spirit because of it. And I don't say that lightly because I've had some terrible poundings. But I want to hold on to my tea light of hope. I do not want to be negative. I do not want to be embittered. I do never, ever want to be self-piteous. And I never want to regurgitate sad stories every time somebody else has a difficulty because I want to outrun them or outdo them or say, I know how you feel. What I try and say is that is difficult and I'm with you. So you're here. You've survived all of your difficult days so far. You might well have some difficult days to come. We all have. But you also have some glorious ones to come, some joyously fun ones, some unexpectedly kind ones, some lovely, boring, ordinary, everyday days to come. And they are all blessings. So you're here and you've survived thus far. And people often talk about the journey or my experience with this or a survivor of. Well, you're either a survivor and you just sort of go back to the way you were and you learned some lessons and well done, or you're a thriver because you take those lessons and you share them onwards. And it doesn't matter how well you are physically, mentally, emotionally, you can still thrive in different ways. They may not be conventional, but they're still very valuable. So always remember that. If you're just joining us, please say hello. So if you're joining us and I haven't mentioned you, it's because I can't see. Forgive me for that. There's something with the tech, but it's really lovely to have you. Thank you for your support. Number 3, it's a new day and a chance for a new plan. And I don't know about you, but have you been messed up with the sort of bank holidays and you're not sure what day of the week it is? Well, I'm also a bit messed up with what date it is. So I think it's the 2nd or the 3rd of June. If anybody can comment, please let me know. Somebody's sending me a message now. It's quite funny. So there's a bit of me that still gets excited when we turn the calendar over. And I don't know why that is. I'm excited about what the picture is and which days of the week start on a Sunday and all those tiny parts of normal life and that we'll never have today again. We'll never have this date again. So, you know, in infant junior school, Ruth, my darling, it's wonderful to see you. Welcome. I think this will help you. 10 reasons for hope. I was going to do a video on 10 reasons that you need to be self-employed, but the things you need to know. But Kev told me quite emphatically, don't do that. Do 10 ways to be optimistic, because he's a pure optimist. So I thought we'll slightly alter that to be 10 ways to be hopeful, whatever your circumstances. First point, you're here. Second point, you've survived all your difficult days thus far. Well done, not an easy feat, but new day, new plan. So the point of a new calendar, a new month, always makes me excited. And I would wish you that same kind of tiny joy, because tiny joys sustain your soul. People think of joy as a big explosion of an event, a life, a wonderful thing. I think of joy as a lovely cup of drink, obviously not sugary drinks, a good sleep, daylight, the puppy behaving well, the puppy making somebody else happy, Kevin had a good day at work, Dad had some calories. These provide me with such moments of joy. Clients doing well, clients overcoming things, clients telling me they're happier, calmer, they've reached their goals. Their goals were sometimes insurmountably difficult and they got there. So I have moments of joy littered through my day to sustain me. They're just very small compared to what other people think about. Joy that I have yellow glasses, and that one of my wonderful bestest people in the world bought me 2 glasses chains and the dog ate one. So we're on the last one. But new day, new plan. So if you can still find it within you to make a little plan, to make something a little bit better or even a little bit less bad, that is a great reason for hope. Number 4, I wrote this sentence in my second book. 1,000 people would swap with you. Now that seems quite dramatic, and I often like to think about units, but 100 people would swap with you, and I can tell you 100 people who would swap with you. Because having done all of those funeral services as a Christian celebrant, and often as a minister as well in church, I had massive opposition to doing them. I had some men who did not think women should be doing it, and certainly not me, and I had to battle to do it, and I had some unpleasant behaviour. But by heavens, every one of those funerals, I believe, was done with the greatest love and hope that I could do, and I looked after families as well as I possibly could, and some of those people are my best friends in the world now, many of whom are in this group. So here's the thing. All those people I took services for would swap with us. All of those people who are bereaved today would swap with us. Everybody who hasn't, lived till they're 99 would swap with us. So always remember, however demanding it is a great gift to be here. It's a great gift to be here. It doesn't mean life is easy or that difficult days aren't arduous. Liv, welcome, welcome. It's lovely to see you. Some people are popping up, some people aren't, so I can see people here, but it's lovely to see you. Go to Liv's church. It looks magnificent. Liv's church was one we used to drive past a lot. My mum loved it, and it's amazing that we are friends now. The coincidence of that is, I'm sure, heaven sent. So 10 ways to be hopeful. You're here. You've survived all your bad days so far. New day, new plan. 1,000 people would swap with you. So when I was very, very tortured with pain, and I had about 2 or 3 years where I had immense pain, thank God I have a bit less now, well, a lot less. I probably have more than most people and more restriction, but I have enough life to feel that it's abundant. Is that the ultimate point of knowing that people would swap with you is how to manage that. And what I used to do, especially I had a lot of nights where I'd be up all night, is I would work out who would swap with me then. And mainly that was all the people I'd seen on the news. And I think the people in, even now, all of the war zones, all of the people who are hungry, all of the people who've had tragic injustices happen, all of the people who've been victims of crime. And they're just the people we see on the news. There'll be millions that we don't see. So I used to think all the people who would swap with me. I would then think about my friends I had lots of friends, especially with severe ME, who were worse than me. And I used to think, well, they would do anything to be up all night like I am, because they're up all night all the time. So it's a rarer thing for me. So I was trained myself to think in the most productive way to endure that difficulty. And it serves me well now. And now one of the things I do all the time, especially if there's a wobble on anywhere, is I tell myself it'll get sorted. We will do our best. And when we've done that, the rest is in God's hand. And we will keep trying to cope and do the best we can with what we have. Number 5, there's always a chance to learn more. And I have seen hundreds of people be in a corner, learn something and improve. So what I spend most of my time doing with one-to-one clients is we assess where we are. Where has life reversed us into in some ways? Often illness has done that and circumstances. And can we just very gently edge our way out of that absolute back corner? And if you think about parallel parking or reverse parking, I often think about that reversing edging, and sometimes that takes a lot of moves. Well, sometimes it takes as many moves to move out to a place of neutrality, never mind flourishing. So if you think about that there's always a chance to learn something more. Basic, sort your sleep out, water, get rid of the fizzy drinks, get rid of the sugar, get rid of the intake that is not good for you. Get rid of the fags, get rid of the booze. You know, all these basic things. Get some daylight. I may mention going to bed at a regulated time quite a lot. Then, you know, make a list of the things where you are leaking energy in mind and body and try and do something about them. You can nearly always do things to improve your situation that don't cost much, but they just cost a bit of self-discipline. And it may not be nice to have to give up certain things that upset you or don't do you any good, but it's lovely to feel well. So think about that. And I have learned so much. I'm constantly trying to learn about how to be well, what is wise. And at the moment I'm working on breath work and breathing, because I know that would be a good way to regulate my nervous system and adrenaline flows and cortisol levels and inflammation. So there's always something interesting to learn from wise and scholarly people. Number 6, are you making the same mistake or repeating the same patterns? Now, this doesn't mean we have to be perfect, but what it might do is that we might be having the same similar kinds of experiences so that we can learn something. And I often say, I have one client, we have several sentences that we laugh about now, but I often say sometimes the same experience will come round in a different pair of trousers. So whatever you're dealing with, the outfit will be different, but the lessons, we're still not getting it. And there are many lessons in life that I am still trying to learn and pick up, but also that I can almost see the pattern now, and I think, oh, I have to thank God for this experience because I'm trying to grow from it, and now I've got another chance to do that, uncomfortable as that is. So that's number 6. A reason to be hopeful is that you can spot patterns and behaviours, sometimes in other people, that you may not want to tolerate anymore, and then you can extract yourself or challenge it or do something. But it's the repeating of the pattern, and once we distance ourselves from it, sometimes it helps us. Number 7. We can mend a lot. Doesn't mean we heal fully, but it means we mend a bit at a time. And I think the first bit of mending is prayer, and I think the second bit is effort. And I think work and prayer are inextricably linked. And I think if you're in the middle of an ocean with a storm brewing, you're in a leaky rowing boat and you've got one oar, you pray to God, you pray for help, and you row like mad to the shore. And if you can't row, you paddle, and if you can't paddle, you try even harder. So I'm convinced that people who make inches of progress do miles of work. That may be spiritually, it may be emotionally, it may be mental. But what it also means is that quiet hope of asking for help, praying for help, being the help, forgiving yourself, forgiving other people. And forgiveness doesn't mean saying it's all right, it just means you let it go or you distance yourself. Sometimes you can reconcile beautifully and that's wonderful, but sometimes you just need to be neutral about things so that it's not torturing you. I think that mends you. And I think number 8 is inextricably linked to that, is how we think about things and how we talk to ourselves. And do we berate ourselves? Are we negative? Do you say, I'm stupid, ridiculous, and I never get anything right when something goes wrong? Or do you think to yourself, there's something going on here, and what can I learn from it? That you take the great depths of self-judgment and criticism away, and you put in a beautiful neutrality that is compassionate and wise, and that you would speak to somebody else. So speak to yourself in the way that you would speak to yourself and other people. Number 9. Oh, we're cracking on. 12:55. 5 more minutes, my friends. Ask yourself where you might give, where you might help, where you might learn. So the great secret of misery, I think, is that sometimes you come out of your own misery by helping other people. That's a really profound sentence, but it does us a lot of good. And even if you're not well enough to do physically things or volunteer, or I had lots of tries at voluntary jobs, none of which I was well enough to do. I mean, I'd often do a voluntary morning in a hospital and do visiting, and then go to bed for 3 days. I mean, it was lunacy. But for the morning I was doing it, it was wonderful, and then the payback was enormous. But what I then thought, well, what inch of that could I do? A kind phone call, something in the post, a text, a letter, a donation. And when I had virtually no income and virtually no ability to earn, I decided I would give £20 a month away. Like, I'd scrape it together. And that was when I was at my worst physically. And that made me feel powerful just in a tiny way. And I chose the charities really carefully. I did a donkey sanctuary for people who needed, animals to help them work. I did a refugee charity. I did a village where people lived with different abilities and made things and then sold them, so it was self-sustaining. I chose really carefully. I think I did quite a lot to ME. So if you think about where you can give, if you can't, and if you can do nothing else, you just pray for people. So where are we? Number 10. Number 10. Here's the epitome of life joy. Life joy stands for love, integrity, fortitude, energy, joy, offering, and you. That we put all of that together in all my books and my coaching and all of these kinds of sessions. Is that I have lots of qualifications. I have a doctorate, I have diplomas in coaching and counselling, life skills, mentoring, pastoral, clinical and pastoral care, lots of things. But I'm most used because I know what it is to struggle. So here's the thing. What is the epitome of keeping going through difficulty? It is rejoicing in the tiny treasures. And I started off with the small joys of life, the tiny treasures of just being here, being you, being able to cope, being able to move forward. And when you can't move forward, just holding your nerve, holding your breath and knowing that some hope will come. You just have to be there long enough to catch the train, if that makes sense. So don't give up hope. I hope all of that helps. I love that you come on Fridays. I look forward to seeing you all. It's the oddest thing when you speak to yourself, but you're not really because you're with your pals. So thank you for having me. Thank you for your support. Thank you, importantly, for the referrals, because being self-employed, and I was unemployable for a very long time, so I cannot tell you what being able to work means for me, is that even if when you're very, very poorly, wherever you are now, just think about what you might like to do. And I was doing that. And one of the things I started off, before I even had clients of any sort or wrote anything, was I thought, what if I could help people declutter their houses? Because I was really, really loved decluttering and organising things. And it was just that tiny seed of what if. Now, I haven't had anything like enough health to do that. Yvonne Davison, my darling, it's so lovely to see you. Will you give my love to everybody? We miss you. Yvonne, heroic woman. It's lovely that you've just joined us. If you're just joining us, please say hello. There's 10 reasons to be hopeful. You might like to watch this back and I hope it helps. Dad sends you his love, by the way. So in all of that, where you might be. So life is a long game sometimes, and you only need a tiny seed of a thought. What if? What if it worked out wonderfully well? What if we did all that we could? What if we were hopeful? So I hope that helps, my friends. Thank you for having me. I was about to say before I got excited, because Yvonne came, was that thank you for sending people to me. Thank you for the referrals. Thank you for saying, look, especially people with exhaustive conditions, especially people with anxiety, especially people with ADHD, long COVID, the people who are in a corner and don't have a lot of help. Thank you for saying have half an hour to your friends. Thank you for saying have half an hour with Rebecca, because that's what pays my gas bill. So I never stop being grateful. So thank you for the referrals. Thank you for everybody who's bought a book. They're all here. And if you join the email list, you get a token for half price. And thank you also for coming and supporting here and being part of the group. It's a joy for me to be part of this. It takes a lot of work to run it, but I really love being with you all. So thank you for having me. So our June Gaelic blessing. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face and the rain fall soft upon your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the hollow of his hand. Take care, my friends, and look after your tea lights.